Hello, my name is Vernon Jones and I am at Southerndown. Pretty nasty day, so I'm under a rock doing this. Very nice. There we are. Anyway, you have to work with these things. Just to tell you a little bit about myself, from Pontypool, where I grew up, and went to college there. My first art college there was at Pontypool College, 89 to 91. Stayed there for another year, getting my portfolio sorted out, gearing it more towards illustration. Applied for a wildlife illustration course, HND, in Carmarthen. Got there and finished there in 94. I was very much into sort of pencil work. My work was quite tight, and I really enjoyed sort of working with pencil and sort of more figurative work. So that's where I was sort of going at that point. And then skip forward, quite a few years, hitchhiking one day. I did a bit of travelling around Europe, hitchhiking one day in this country, from Brighton to Newport, and the commercial artist picked me up, and he invited me to paint J-class yachts. At that time I was still doing more sort of figurative work, kind of more illustrative figurative work. So this was J-class yachts in oils. I never really knew how to use oil paints, but I said, okay, let's do it. Within 30 seconds my life went whoop, complete U-turn. So very interesting, and he tutored me for about 2 years. But the thing that I always found very difficult was the sea. I could never really sort of figure it out. It was such a tough subject, especially with oils as well. So I didn't really know where to go, just making sure I don't get cut off over there, because the sea is coming in pretty quick. So so that was my sort of challenge. And after our time was, let's say, up, it was just a natural thing. I focused then on the sea, and my idea was, if I can learn to paint the sea, and I can maybe sell a painting of the sea, just by itself, then I've done something right. And that's what I did. And it's been my passion ever since. Really love painting the sea. It's a very interesting subject for me, in general. There's so many variations, and so there's so much variety, But we'll get into that in a second. So, I was learning to paint the open sea because that's where the yachts were. But then I started to come, a little bit more in, closer to the shore. I started painting the waves and, the shoreline waves, and I, very much enjoyed that, which I still do. And, just sort of opened up the whole field for me, quite a lot. So I've got the open sea, and I've got this, the sea here as well. And I found that, the technique that I'd sort of got used to using, and I could use it with acrylics and oil. So I could, if I was working acrylic or oils, it wouldn't really matter. But one of the things I enjoyed doing as well was experimenting, with acrylic and mixed media, pencils and all this, maybe from the illustration days perhaps. And I found that very interesting, to work, in that kind of style. Also the, working in quite a loose way, especially with acrylics. I mean, mainly I think with acrylics, and then working quite tight as well into that. So that gives a sort of expressionistic, realistic kind of feel to it, which I find very interesting. So that's good as well. And also during lockdown, I wanted to learn how to paint alla prima, so that's exactly what I did. So I used it as an opportunity to teach myself how to paint alla prima, because again with oils, I'd never really sort of got into that, and that's given me a bit more as well. So I'm using that in my work too. So it's good to have all these different things, these different sort of techniques and ways of working, depending on how I'm feeling and how I want to approach the subject. So I'm glad that I have that. I'm also very interested in landscape work as well. So I like to I'm going to be doing a bit more painting outside this year. It's also I'm also happy to work in the studio, but nice to go outside, isn't it? And paint on the spot. Excuse me. But I also like doing other things as well, other kind of works, that are coming in, from time to time. So it sort of keeps your hand in. I find this very useful, to have other subjects as well, to have to, sort of cope with and contend with, to manage, because I think it does keep your hand in. And for me, I think it's very valuable very interesting. And also, you know, now and then it's nice to have a bit of a change, you know, from the sort of general sort of seascape landscape work which I'm doing, but primarily seascape for sure. Right, what inspires me about the sea? It doesn't inspire me to get cut off, really doesn't. So I'm going to get moving in a second, because it is coming in quite a bit. There's a person over there. Maybe they're thinking like, what the, you know, what's he doing? You know, come on, quick, you know. But I got a bit of time yet, so it's fine. I think I love the obviously, you know, the spontaneity. I love the especially the wild seas, you know, when it's stormy and there's big waves coming in, and, you know, all that wind and everything else. You know, I love all that. You know, it I don't know, it sort of fills me up. You get this feeling, well, I get this feeling that I don't know, I just feel whole in myself, feel like sort of complete in a way. But I certainly feel whole, like it sort of fills my spirit. You know, that you're witnessing that, and then to try to translate that then onto a painting. Like a friend of mine and I, we were, you know, when was it? When Storm Bram came in, which wasn't very long ago. We were at St. Govans. I mean, the waves were crazy. I mean, there were such big waves coming in there. It was wild, you know, the wind and everything else. You know, it was wild, and you know, luckily we were sheltered by, you know, behind the cliff, so we were able to get some references in, because all the wind was just howling by. But I mean, that's what I love, you know, that kind of stuff, you know, is wonderful for me. I absolutely love that. But, you know, I love it, you know, I love it when, you know, there's nice light. Now down here, and I try to get down here, you know, as much as I can. And, you know, there's Witch's Point over that side. You know, it's like, you know, in Ogmore, of course, you know, which is just over there. It's like about 3-4 miles away. You know, you get some really amazing waves and stuff along this coastline. And when the light is right as well, you know, it's wonderful, it's superb. You know, so, you know, I love the fact that, you know, no two waves are the same. You never know what's going to happen. And like I just watching one by there, then, you know, the way it was sort of, you know, sort of twisting over. It's just, I love all that, and I try to put an element of that in my work, you know, now and then when I can. And also sort of designing the pictures, you know, designing, you know, the foam. You know, even something as simple as foam, you know, it's got to be in the right place, hasn't it? Otherwise, it throws things out of balance. So when you've got clouds, waves, you know, foam, you know, maybe some rocks and so on, you know, you've got to design it, and I enjoy that, and I enjoy finding the balance. With regards to the landscape work as well, of course, you know, it does come into the seascape work, because, you know, what's over there? Landscape. So, you know, it's all good. It all gets inside, doesn't it? It gets inside, you know, one thing gets inside the other. So they're all positive, you know, skills to learn. You know, with rocks, for example, and that's been a focus of mine now since I think about a year or two. You know, is you know, getting into the rocks, and with the water peeling off and so on, because it's very complicated for me. I mean, that's, you know, there's some really complicated stuff if you look for it, you know, to have to sort out. But you know, that's very interesting for me, and it's, you know, as hard as it is, it's challenging, and you know, and I think I'm getting to grips with that as well. So, you know, there's plenty of things to learn. I'm always trying to learn things. I'm always, you know, I haven't stopped learning, you know, about techniques, and, you know, refining, you know, what I'm doing, you know, exploring, you know, the exploration, you know, of media and so on. You know, it's very interesting as well. So, you know, I'm still enjoying all that. I've got, you know, there's main ways that I can work, but, you know, I'm very interested also to, you know, continue to find other things, because I've still got those, and I've always got those sort of ways to work. But it's nice to have a play about as well, to experiment, and to challenge, you know, to challenge myself, you know, especially, you know, the things that you find difficult, you know, have a go at those, you know, and learn how to do those. Then that's one more thing that you've conquered. So, you know, that's very interesting. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to try to see if I can get out of Feel Alive. I should be all right. But you know, in any case, I'd best be off. So anyway, thanks for listening. Greetings from Southerndown on this very beautiful day. Well, thank you very much for watching, and take care.